Hey everybody, welcome to Taystock 2021. And today my special guests, our old pal, Anna from Unidos. And so everybody just want to, give her a warm welcome. And Anna, welcome to Taystock.
Thank you, Brian. It's a pleasure to be here with you all today.
Yes, the last time we saw each other was in person, but things change and here we are. We're virtual, but point is we're meeting.
Yes, no, I remember the last time I was able to visit Penny Lane and meet with a group of youth and community members in person. So I loved having the opportunity to be part of your space. And now I'm honored to be welcomed into your virtual space.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so for those who weren't in the group and the activity you were doing, can you maybe explain your program and some of its offerings?
Yes, absolutely. So my name is Ana Minauri, and I'm the program director at Unidos. Unidos is a community-based organization. We're located in the heart of Westlake, Los Angeles, right on Beverly and Alvarado, which is closer to the downtown area of Los Angeles. And we've been serving predominantly immigrant communities across LA for over 20 years now. Unidos was founded in 1996. We were actually founded in El Salvador, in San Salvador, El Salvador, by a group of individuals that had been deported to El Salvador after being incarcerated. And they came together and really put together a mission and vision of serving our community and preventing violence, especially within Central American immigrant communities that have been devastated by violence for so many years due to war and now due to gang conflicts and gang violence. So the vision and mission of Unidos immigrated from El Salvador to Los Angeles in the late 1990s, and we were founded in LA in 1999. We've been working predominantly with communities impacted by gang violence and gang activity, and impacted by different facets of the criminal justice system, right? So working with communities and families that have been impacted by incarceration, whether it be individuals that are currently incarcerated, both youth and adults, family members of individuals that are currently incarcerated, and formerly incarcerated youth and adults, as well as at-risk individuals, individuals that grow up in the community. Like myself, I'm not formally incarcerated, and I never joined a street gang, but I'm a product of my neighborhood. And I understand the unique needs, of people growing up in our community, and the need for opportunities and different engagement opportunities for youth that are impacted by violence.
Yeah, you touched upon an interesting topic, because I know in one of my previous interviews, we discussed the importance of some of the professionals in our field that have unique experiences that relate directly, like with our clients. And it may be not exactly the same, but that lived experience really does help. I mean, do you find that to be the case?
Absolutely. And I think I'm glad you mentioned that, Brian, because that's one of the most critical things about Unidos. And I am very proud to be a part of such a dynamic team. Every single one of our team members is directly impacted. We don't have anybody on our team who maybe has read about the work and understands it, but is not really from the community. No, everybody on our team, from our leadership, our executive director, Alex Sanchez, he embodies a lot of the work and a lot of the issues that drive the mission and vision of Unidos. As an individual that's formerly incarcerated, that is an immigrant who has been deported to El Salvador. He was the first deported person to return to the United States and be granted asylum based on persecution and violence and based on his political opinion. So our El Salvador chapter of Unidos is no longer active because we had 3 executive directors who were victims of homicide. And we decided to shut down our work in El Salvador for the safety of our Unidos community, because the work we do is very political. And now here in the States, we have staff members that are formerly incarcerated, who have been incarcerated over 30 years of their life and now have gone through a process of transformation and are now in their communities serving the people and bringing positive opportunities to those who need it, and also a beacon of hope to those who are going through the same journey that they have gone through. So all of us are directly impacted in different ways. One of our team members, Doña Edith, who is so sweet. She's really the mama within the family structure that we've created. She volunteered with us for several years because her son is currently incarcerated. Her son has been serving 5 years now of an 8-year prison sentence, and she found a spirit of hope within Homies Unidos for her to really feel encouraged and empowered to learn about different policy initiatives that impact currently and formerly incarcerated individuals, to really advocate against injustice within the system affecting individuals like her son, but not only her son. So Doña Edith is a Spanish speaker, and after many years of volunteering, she was hired as our project coordinator for our Capril program, for its Spanish acronym. It's the Comité de Apoyo a Privados de Libertad, which in English is the Committee in Support of Incarcerated People. So this committee just supported a month-long project that took place between September and October, in which our team visited over 29 state prisons within California, and we visited over 89 currently incarcerated individuals. So all of this work is being led by the community. And I think that's what makes the work that Homies Unidos does so unique and so powerful.
I was going to actually ask you about an example of a success story, and you just shared a really good one there. And I noticed it ties back to the theme we just spoke about having like that lived experience and that being able to assist and help in, relating to a potential client. Because I noticed that being a trend with other departments as well. Like I used to work in a program called Wraparound, and the heart and soul of the team in each wraparound is the parent partner who has lived experience, whether it's in foster care, juvenile justice, mental health, and they're like that. They allow us to really transition into the family's home and earn their trust because they're comfortable telling their story. They've worked past some of the, just the good, the bad, and the ugly of the system, and they've come out stronger. Because when I was working in that program, I really did feel like if we didn't have that role, we would be so textbook and cookie cutter. I'd be going in there trying to engage with someone, but I wouldn't have the same or even a similar lived experience. And I was like thinking, why would they listen to me? And so I definitely see a shift, and I see what you're talking about, and that's why you're sharing your success story. And then it's just like now they're giving back. Like as you said, she got hired on, right, and is using their knowledge, and that's great. And I'm sure they get a lot out of it, knowing that they're paying it forward, right?
And they're not like, these are non-traditional work settings because the community we work with is non-traditional. Yep. So it's so impactful when we have a mother that is a mother figure within our group, and you have gang members that maybe didn't have the love of a maternal figure in their life. Yeah. We have youth who are going through a lot of issues, especially we work a lot with immigrant youth and like the unaccompanied minors that have immigrated from Central America due to the violence, and they're arriving to communities that reflect a lot of the realities within their home country. Here in LA, like the gang violence that they're fleeing in Central America was born here in Los Angeles and exported through deportation processes. So now you have youth that are really struggling to find a sense of identity and belonging, and it becomes so critical to have a family structure to welcome them, and not only encourage them like, hey, we have programs, come join this workshop. No, like, come sit with us and come share your story with us and hear our stories. And when they see somebody like Doña Edith, who just generally loves and cares for each of our community members. I just saw one of our volunteers who did an internship process with Homies Unidos. She finalized her internship, so she's done with her hours, and she continues to volunteer and come and work our events. And she posted something on her social media about how grateful she is to have somebody who treats her like her daughter, because she doesn't have a maternal figure in her life. Her mother was deported to Mexico. So for her, Edith's friendship and camaraderie is so valuable, because it's more than just a liaison of Homies Unidos. She is, a mother that this young person needed to have that mother figure in her life.
Something you said that I think you've really done a lot of young people a service by mentioning is about having identity. And I think a lot of problems we run into with young men and women that are still just like, they're getting into trouble habitually, but it's not because they're bad, it's what I think a lot of times they are trying to find this identity, and maybe they don't have role models in their lives. But I think a lot of times when they get to talk to someone like you or people from your team, it puts them in that right direction to really discover who they are, because they're going to be surrounded by people who are supportive and are just there to listen, provide space. And I think that's really important, because a lot of times we see people get in trouble in this field that we work in, and then you find out later they might find a mentor, and then they're going to say something like, I wish I had met someone like you when I was like 16 or something like that. And that's always really sad to hear,
And it's so important because, when I think about the work that I do and my perspective and the opportunity for me to be the program director at Homies Unidos, I sat on the other side of the services. I was a teen mother, I was on welfare, kind of forced into these different programs, right? Because when you're a minor, when you're a teen parent and you're receiving services, well, you have to be in these engagement programs. It's a requirement. So I was one of those teenagers that I was like, I don't want to be here, but these are some of the things I need. And I always tell people I was really bullied into applying to college and universities by mentors. Like I had this mentor from UCLA, Hilda, I still remember her name, and she would call me every day for like 2 weeks of leading up to my college applications being due. I'm a product of the continuation school system. I never once set foot on a traditional high school campus because I was a mother when I was so young. I became a mother at 14 years old, so I didn't have those same experiences. And I always say, if you don't know no better, how are you going to do better? People tell you, oh, you need to do better. Well, what if I've never seen what that would look like for somebody in my community? If I don't see somebody that looks, sounds, walks and talks the way I do in these spaces, that's just not something that I'm going to feel connected to. Sometimes, we can argue that it's about race. We can argue that it's about opportunities, gang involvement. We can argue that it's about class, but certain people within our neighborhoods do not feel like, oh, we have a dream university we're going to apply to. It's just not it feels like it's not in the books for us until you have a mentor that comes and tells you, hey, if I could do it, you can do it too. And I'm going to lay out the blueprint for you. And I'm going to show you how I hustled through this system to get to where I am now. And now I get to sit on the other side of the table now as a service provider. And those relationships, those stories are impactful. I just had a conversation yesterday with a young man. This young man is 26 years old, so he's older than me. I'm 25 years old, but he was incarcerated and sentenced to juvenile life at the age of 16. And due to policy changes with SB 261, he was able to parole out this year after 10 years of incarceration. And I was chatting with him yesterday, and I told him, you know what, like, I see you getting a master's and a PhD at a university. And he laughed, he started laughing. And I told him, no, don't laugh, because nobody tells us that. Nobody tells you that you with tattoos on your face can achieve one of those positions. We feel like we don't belong in those spaces. But if we don't infiltrate those spaces and create a space for ourselves within those spaces, others are going to continue these cycles of lack of education, lack of career preparation. And people say, well, why? Why do we need those things, And unfortunately, the reality, at least my reality, as somebody who grew up in the hood, is that I did need to go and get an education to escape my reality and be able to no longer, live with my mom in a tiny apartment shared with multiple people and oftentimes multiple families, but now I'm able to be just a little bit more self-sufficient and pay that forward for the next generation.
Yeah, I think a lot of what you're saying, I think, is what needs to happen for a lot of youth, particularly like you're saying, like immigrant youth or groups that have been impacted by the incarceration. Again, like not necessarily even just the ones who were in prison, but the loved ones that are impacted by it, because traditional means is not necessarily, doesn't work. It's not a cure-all. It doesn't work for everybody. I mean, if you're someone who's been in this country for like 10 generations and family does well financially and everything, that, maybe it'll work for you. You can do things the way your parents did it, the way their parents did it. But for people where there's no normal, there has to be a cultural competence level to it, and if they're fortunate enough to have an individual like yourself to kind of paint it out for them, like, look, this is my story, this is how I did it, this is how the traditional way is, but let's just be real, that may not work, because it didn't work for me, and you can help them that way. That might be the one thing that they need to hear that says, wait, you really, like you said, like you told them, like, you could be a PhD. You might be the first person that told them that. And that might have been really impactful, because up until that point, maybe they were only told, well, you're going to be in and out of prisons, which is a horrible thing to hear, especially if you're really young. And you mentioned hope earlier on in the interview, and I think by giving that little spark, it could be the difference maker. I've seen the work you guys do, in the community, and it comes off very real, like raw, in like the best possible way, and just, if anyone listening right now, if they want to be able to reach out to you, to Homies Unidos, what's the best way to contact you?
Honestly, Bryan, I'm going to share my contact information for you to share. We have a social media page. A lot of people reach out and tell me, how do I get involved? Is there a form that I have to fill out, like an intake document? Come visit us and come to our office and come meet with us and make that connection if you're interested in getting involved, because we have workshops, and hopefully, we can talk a little bit. We're hoping to put some workshops on with Penny Lane and the community you serve. But sometimes I don't want to sit through a workshop, sometimes I don't want that. Sometimes I just want to talk to somebody because I don't even know what I need. That, like, even me mentioning college and higher education, I think cultural competency is about knowing that one size does not fit all.
Yes.
And sometimes we need to explore different avenues. And, for somebody, maybe higher education is going to be it, for somebody, maybe they're going to need a vocational trade. Maybe somebody has the potential and capacity to develop a business strategy and become an entrepreneur, right? Yep. But if we don't have a conversation with somebody to explore these different avenues and say, hey, like, I really, really like to do this. I don't even know where to start. Can you kind of just talk to me, just coach me through the process, you know? So I always encourage folks, if you are interested in getting to know us, getting involved, maybe just chatting, come visit us in our office, send us a message on social media. I manage your social media accounts. You can find us at Homies Unidos on Instagram and Homies Unidos LA on Facebook as well. And just feel free to reach out, and of course, stay connected and in the know on our social media, because that's where we put all of our event flyers. We do activities in the community. We started doing, a pandemic response initiative in 2020 when the pandemic hit. So we have served thousands and thousands of communities, not only in the heart of Koreatown and Westlake, which are the communities that we've been historically serving, but we've gone to communities across LA. We actually co-founded a Black and Brown Alliance for Justice in 2020 with other Black organizers that do gang intervention work across the city. So really, the core of the work that we do is violence interruption. We understand that our communities are severely impacted by violence, and that is the root of, incarceration issues. That is the root of a lot of trauma, and that's both gang violence and interpersonal violence that results from trauma and historic trauma and generational trauma in our communities. So I encourage folks to just reach out and come visit us and come visit our space in Westlake.
Thanks. And for people watching this, Anna's information, contact info will be listed in the description. But if you're watching right now and you're on your phone, you go to Instagram, you can go to our page where we follow Homies Unidos. So find them, give them a follow. All right. And just the last question I had for you, Anna, and also just as a reminder for people listening, Penny Lane and Homies Unidos will be working together to bring an activity, a group soon. So do keep an eye out on both of our social medias. That will be coming. But one last question is, if you had to give just one quick piece of advice to a youth experiencing homelessness at this time, what would you say?
It's so tough to just give one piece of advice, but I would say, don't give up hope and ask questions, look for those resources. Sometimes when we are on the other side of seeking services, we arrive at a point where maybe we feel like we didn't connect with somebody. Maybe this person didn't treat me well. Maybe they didn't understand me. I didn't like the way they communicated with me, and that shuns us out sometimes. And we say, well, you know what? I don't want to seek services. But I encourage everybody to try opening different doors and try knocking on different doors, because again, one size does not fit all. And maybe, one agency or one space or organization or one person, might have not been that connection you're going to make. That's going to be your mentor, that's going to be your mentor that you talk about 10 years from now. But continue to knock on doors until you find that person, because I guarantee you that you will talk about that person 10 years from now, and you will become that person for somebody else that needs you.
I think you're absolutely right, because I've what you just said reminded me a lot of what some of the more successful people and I've ever read about. When I say success, it could be success in anything. It always comes back to one thing, and that is once they get to that pinnacle that they feel they've achieved it, they always go to mentorship. They always go they find the next person that could be them or even better than them, because it's like that ultimate validation, and I think that's really important. And that's something I actually tell a lot of clients here, where they might say one of my team members is like, man, they really helpful, how can I ever pay them back? I'm like, find the next you a couple years from now and help them along. And then they're just like, man, that would be awesome. And right now, I mean, there's lots of avenues for it. It's like you said, what you guys do, how everybody at Homies Unidos has that lived experience, and it validates, I think, the just a sense of belonging for people who might be watching this right now and saying like, man, I've been arrested this many times. Who's going to hire me? I think they would be surprised. I think they would be surprised because they might be looking at things from a traditional lens. But as you pointed out, there is no one size fits all. So thank you, Anna, for meeting with us. Thank you for your words of wisdom. And for people watching this and are new to Penny Lane, Homies Unidos, please check out their social media, check out their page. And like Anna said, pay them a visit, So thank you, Anna. And
thank you, Bryan. And thank you to the Penny Lane family and community for hosting Taystock again this year. It's an honor to be a part of your community.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for viewing.